Keaton or Chaplin?
Cool.
Who is funnier?
Who's funnier? Who's funnier? You know, yeah.
Mariah, Keaton or Chaplin?
No, I'm not going to choose. I'm confused. I say moo, as I have said before in the Chinese tradition. That question is not worth answering.
Yeah.
So, welcome back to the White Room. This is Simon speaking. And hello, Mariah.
Hi, Simon.
Hi. We have a guest, Gonzalo. Hi, Gonzalo.
Oh, hello. Hi, hello, Simon. Hello, Maria.
Before we get so I think we wanted to meet again for a new episode of this podcast, and what is we are in need of in these times more and more. I feel that we are in need of laughing, of comedy, and that's why we wanted to talk with Gonzalo Alarcón, who is here with us. So, Gonzalo, we already said hello. You're of course an old friend from Mariah and from me, and but I want to ask you, because hopefully there is somebody listening to us also. So, can you please introduce yourself? Who are you, and where do you live, and what do you do?
Yeah, I live in Brussels now, but I'm from Chile, actually. And what I do, it's working. I'm a circus artist. No? I work in the circus, more contemporary circus field, let's say. And but also I'm let's say a clown and a comic actor. I like to very much physical comedy and try to to mix things like how to mix theater and clowning and comedy. So this is mainly what I do, and I play very much in the street festival with circus, street theater festivals or circus festivals. And we can say that I am a kind of circus actor somehow.
Do you work alone, or do you have a company?
Now I have two projects which I'm working on, and one it's a duo. It's a really physical comedy and juggling and slapstick show for the streets, and the other one it's from an indoor performance of theater with 5 people. Also a mix of magic and illusion and physical theater and also comedy.
But they're both finished, or it is in work in progress?
No, they are both finished. Actually, the new one, we did the premiere on February this year, so we were
okay. What is the name of the two, of the duo and of the other?
The duo, the name of the duo is Chiringuito Paradise.
Chiringuito Paradise, yeah.
Yeah, and the company is Sitting Duck. It's a Belgian company. It's the opening of let's say of a bar, no? Bar itinerante. How to say, the nomad?
An itinerant bar. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the big opening of this very chic and kitsch bar, and where everything starts very well and it goes very bad. And it's with a lot of accidents and juggling and flair juggling.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, my partner is a very good flair juggling, a cocktail juggler, and it's a street performance for everybody. No?
Yeah.
Adults, kids, everybody.
Yeah, I remember last year you toured with that performance, also near us in Dortmund, but I wasn't there. I was on vacation, so I could not come. but I really wanted to see that. And a colleague from us, Melanie, she went there to see you. She did not say hello because she was too shy, but she went there to see you in Dortmund and made a whole film for us. So she, not just with her
Really?
just with her telephone, no, not very very good film, but just to see. And it was a very, very beautiful performance, at least what I saw, with a lot of action, with a lot of accidents, like real slapstick, no?
Yeah.
Real slapstick.
Yeah, that's a lot of action.
Modern, but also, how to say, artisan, old craftsman slapstick with mechanical accidents and glasses jumping around and a whole building falling down, and something between Buster Keaton and whatever else.
Yeah, we were very much inspired by them, actually.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to make the same, try to also to adapt it to the street, because this is something also that, the big difference between movies and a live show is that in movie you can make many shots of the same gag, of the same accident.
Yeah.
And then you don't have people around, so you can choose the angle and you can really make it work and try many times. But on the street you have only one shot. So it takes some time to find out how to make it work in only one shot. It took us a lot of time because we have lots of accidents, and we were very much inspired by this visual comedy, actually, because the comedy from movies is of course physical, but it's also visual comedy, and then you have to use the space, the objects, the scenography, and everything takes part of one big shot. So it was a nice research also to do.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You said physical comedy and visual comedy. What is the difference?
Yeah, I mean, physical comedy, and for me it's when I don't know, there is also comedy, let's say, like in theater, when you play, I don't know, a Molière or a comedy, that it's you use comedy to speak about something else somehow. Now it also is very related to the text of what you said. Of course, it's also very physical, but in here, what we have, it's about physical actions. It's like where the actor, with the comic actor, it's involved in the real physical actions, but it's becomes also visual when there's not only the actor, but then you have objects and scenography, and you move like in a movie, So that's like it's more or less the same thing, but I like the idea of that you have like a kind of image, like in a movie, not something that you see. And once it becomes very visual, even if you don't understand the language, because with this show we tour in many different countries, in Romania, in Germany, in France, in Belgium, in Italy, and we go from one place to the other. And I can speak in different languages, but at the end, what you get from the show is not the text, it's the visual, the image of the actions.
Now, just following a little bit associations. Later, we can catch again the red thread. I saw a film just some days ago. I can recommend very much to everybody. The Dreamers by Bertolucci, and in this film, The Dreamers, it's about 3 young people who are cinephiles. No, they love cinema in the 60s, in Paris, of course. Where else? And they lock themselves up in a flat, and they are in a world of cinema. And there is one very wonderful scene where they fool around, and one of them asks the other, or they have a discussion about Keaton and Chaplin. And so I ask you, remembering this film, Keaton or Chaplin?
Whoa. Oh, difficult.
Who is funnier?
Who's funnier? Who's funnier? Yeah. For me, I have some periods also when I really enjoyed watching Chaplin, and sometimes I like more Keaton. But it's very difficult to compare both of them because they are like they complement very well each other. For me, they make like one thing. Yeah. So it's also, yeah, Chaplin was just amazing because also you have to see his whole career and how his work has evolved since his beginnings. At the beginning, he was really on comedy, on slapstick comedy, but he was able to go farther, to evolve on his work and mix it with humanity, with tragedy, and with no. But Keaton stays like pure comedy till the end. And also, it was very interesting at how to say, like cinematographicamente. How do you say that?
Cinematographically.
Yeah, because he was able to use this space like to feel like complete streets and neighborhoods and to make things happen, and it was very dynamic also his way of making movies, and he was able to use everything and to use also more the cinema as a tool, no, than Chaplin did. But they were both amazing performers, amazing comic actors and physical actors or physical clowns. Yeah, that I could say both.
It's not possible. You have to choose.
Yeah, I like Chaplin very much.
For me, it's also an evolution, I have to say. But I will choose Keaton. For me, Buster Keaton is the much more interesting. Now, with of course before I love also Chaplin. I love all the films and all the comedy. It's very, very nice. And maybe the biggest and the greatest thing about Chaplin that he was so popular, and he could introduce or use his popularity and fill it with some very, very, very good content, no? With very good films and good things. But Buster Keaton for me is just so innovative. What he did, what he created, how he works with cinema, how he builds up all the tricks, how he works. It's just to learn and to steal now, and to from this, let's say, experimental point of view, I find Keaton is just incredibly more interesting.
But I think it's true what Gonzalo says. It's you can't. It's like choosing between Miles Davis and Coltrane or something. It's like it says something maybe about where you are at the moment, what is attracting you. So maybe you now have this like fascination.
Mariah, Keaton or Chaplin?
No, I'm not going to choose. I'm confused. I say moo, as I have said before in the Chinese tradition. That question does not is not worth answering.
Yeah, but I think
only as a self-portrait, maybe.
Yeah, but it has to do what you said, Mariah, because it depends also on what you are living in this moment. Because for me, Chaplin in this moment is very interesting because it's very interesting also the way he was able to add content also to comedy, so to take it a bit farther. That's and it was also I'm trying to do somehow in my work, not to try to explore comedy and the possibilities of comedy, not only to perform a comic scene, but to see if I'm able to say something with it, or can I push it a little bit harder, or to mix it with some other practices, or to techniques, and see if it's possible. So in this case, I choose Chaplin because this he was able to combine styles.
So we have an even. I choose Keaton, Mariah chooses Moo, and you choose Chaplin. So it's even. It's okay.
Yeah.
But I really in this scene I like also to choose in this scene from the Dreamers. The one says to the other Chaplin or Keaton, and the other says incomparable. No, Keaton, of course, and the other says no, Chaplin, and the first says Keaton, and he says Chaplin only cared about himself, and Keaton produced some real art, and so on. So it's very funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
But who would compare on the theatrical stage?
Who what? I didn't get that.
Who would compare on the theatrical stage? Because maybe it's coincidence, but maybe it's absolutely not coincidence that both of these huge artists that were able to really create a strong world around them were film actors or filmmakers, film pioneers. Does
Yeah.
that have is that important?
Yeah, but you have to think that they have almost create cinema also. They have grow together. No, they have help each other to develop their work. Like Chaplin was maybe the first movie star ever. Huh? And it's also, I think they have seen also movies and cinema as a tool, as a way to explore also their own art. No, because they both come from comedy, from variété, you know, from a
So they come from the stage.
from a stage. Yeah, yeah. And I think it must be very interesting to because they have realized that cinema, that movies were also a possibility to develop their own art, no, to develop comedy and to use all the possibilities that the cinema gives you that you can do on stage.
Yeah. Actually, yes, they come from the stage. I don't know about Keaton, but because I didn't
Yeah,
see
yeah,
this,
also.
but I know Chaplin. Of course, Chaplin came from the so-called vaudeville, and you can see it in the old films of Chaplin when he didn't before developing the tramp as a character. He plays very, very, very vulgar vaudeville and very like plain stupid vaudeville things, no? With really like imagine just pushing somebody from behind, and it's like vulgar comedy somehow even. And it's even not really, if you see the very old films of Chaplin, it's, you say, what is this, no? And so afterwards it's developing a lot. So I think this of course there's a lot of things which helped him if he does film. The film is a tool to get money, so to get independent also, no? So he got to get more popular, get more audience, and also be able then afterwards to be independent through your own money and your own production, no? And so this is a big part of this. I don't know, but maybe from the Buster Keaton setups of the how do you say, of the stage of the film set I think are very interesting also in the theater standpoints, because in fact it is theater, just it's cut into little scenes, no? But it's not, there is no trick about it. It's all live. I mean, he does his stunts and all his constructions, or if a building falls down, or if he falls from the third floor, it's all rehearsed and it's all filmed, of course, but it's real. So you can also you can imagine it on a stage also, no? So this is why when we come back,
that's interesting. That's interesting. I mean, I'm really curious, Gonzalo, if you agree with that. That the work of Buster Keaton could just, inform theater work like that, or even be transposed, that it would work in the same way on a theater stage.
Oh yeah, and it does. And this is very interesting. It's a very interesting thing, because a lot of people, I don't think that even they don't know, especially in circus and in contemporary circus, where the work comes from and how close it is to the work of people like Chaplin or Keaton, or this low comedy or vulgar comedy, as you said, Simon, because we're still very close to them in circus, and it's even if these new forms of circus, especially with this very physical and very visual and everything, it's like it has to do with the exploit, no, with the spectacularity of every action you do, like fallings or juggling or amazing the people, the audience, and it works. And I think they have somehow create, let's say that, I don't know how to call it, a style or a way of doing comedy, but it's very much used by artists in our days, I think, for visual artists. Then you have to also think that Chaplin, he also inspired that big movement also of artists during the avant-garde period, and painters, and like different kind of artists. So I think that this way of using and mixing physicality and visual, in their case, in comedy, now it has create a lot of possibilities, and we're still exploring those possibilities related to the image and to the actions, and to this low comedy vaudeville and a mix of everything. Because for me, they really are like a melting pot of different melting pot. How do you say when you mix potpourri? Now, when you mix a lot of things together, and this is what inspires me more of their work, more than just the gags or how to create or write gags, but how to explore different possibilities through comedy. We see Chaplin or Keaton in these old movies like something old, like it's not big. But for me, it's not only about watching them and having fun watching their movies, but also a way to, let's say, I have to read their movies. I have to try to find out how it works. Because when, for example, if you try to find any kind of dramaturgy on this kind of comedy, on physical comedy or visual comedy or books or anything, there is almost nothing about.
Right.
The only way to learn about this is to not to watch these movies, but to try to read them. I don't know how to say, like to try to find out what it is in there, try to understand their work, not only to see these movies to have fun. It can be funny, but I don't think if I really laugh on those movies. I'm really interested in seeing how it works, all the dynamics and
Maybe
and how.
you look like Buster Keaton when you look these movies.
Sorry?
You look like Buster Keaton when you see these movies.
In which way?
You look like.
You look like Buster Keaton when you see these movies.
I think in English that doesn't really work, Simon. You mean you watch the movie as if you were.
No,
Buster
you
Keaton.
look. Your face looks like Buster
Your
Keaton's
face looks.
when you
Yeah.
watch that
Oh.
movies. Your face
Not-
looks like Buster Keaton's face when you watch that movie.
Yeah.
Wow.
Not always, because some of the movies are funny, but some others are not just really funny, but are very interested in many other things. Now, there's things that I can use also, or be inspired by. Yeah? Something that I like very much of their movies, that the actions are real. Yeah? Especially Buster Keaton, all the stunts, all the things he does. So you can't just copy him or imitate him, because you have to be able to make also these stunts and physical things. But it's it's more like how to build up a story or try to tell something, or how to add content to comedy, or no, because it's interesting to see what it was at the beginning, especially with Chaplin, as you said, this vulgar comedy with full of kicks and claps and like cheap accidents and but little by little he start adding content to that work, and it's something that also, when you do this, it's something that also you ask to yourself, what can I do with all this? How can I use it in another way? So just to see
Yeah.
how they have already done this before. So, in this way,
Yeah, that's a beautiful question, actually. So you have all this ability and all this structure and craft, and then what does it carry? What can it carry other than itself? I think that's a wonderful deepening.
yeah, also because in comedy nobody can really teach you how to do the things. You can learn from people, of course, and you can maybe read a book, but I don't know if books are very useful to learn how to make a gag works. Or the only thing that you have to do is to go in front of the audience and to try it by yourself. No? So this it's interesting somehow to be inspired by something, but then you have to do your own thing.
Very jazzy.
Yeah, it's like when you listen to some musicians. Now you are not you don't listen to Miles Davis or Coltrane to play Miles Davis and Coltrane, but to
Actually, why do you listen to Coltrane and Miles Davis again and again? Or let's say, why do you see Keaton or Chaplin's films again and again? What do you? I mean, you're not going to copy them, but you're trying to learn something. But what is it that you can learn? What do you learn?
A good question. And a good question. It's something that I really like on their movies. It's about precision and how serious it can be to make a comedy. How much work it needs, and how much you have. Sometimes people can't even imagine that you have to think about how to play a gag or how to fall. It's not just to throwing yourself against through the window, or I don't know. But it has to, especially in Keaton, it's like a ballet of actions, and they are so well organized that they create the illusion of chaos. Chaos. But it's not chaotic at all. It's very well organized. But at the same time, they really makes you believe that things are going wrong. But it's the paradox of a slapstick comedy. The accidents are so well calculated that they are far of being accidentally. So it's this is the thing that I really like of on their work. Actually, I might come from circus, and I also am a juggler. I'm a juggler, so I can see also my own techniques, how they can use this way of manipulate objects, of calculate a good throwing of a bottle and catch it the right moment. And it's also like jazz. It's like music, and the rhythm, the urgency and every action and every move. So everything.
And the feeling when you know it's good, when you know the timing is right. That's some incredibly satisfying feeling. No, it feels right.
Yeah, and it's nice to do it, but sometimes it's nice also to watch it when somebody can do this like almost perfectly.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, Mariah, go.
Well, I just wanted to because you asked the question. So why do we watch it again and again? And there was a silence. Because we were all like, oh, wow, that's a really good question. And then I thought, what's very interesting about that question is that it asks us to define, okay, so what do we find in there? And after this silence, I thought, no, wait, it is again just the opposite. Like, Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin. No, it's what you always learn what you are ready to learn. You meet the work at your own edge. So you can do the same exercise your whole life, and every time you meet it where you can meet it, so a different edge. And is, I think, very much the same with a rich work of art or a rich artist like Miles Davis or these Buster Keaton or Charlie Chaplin. It's so rich that you can meet their work again and again on a different edge of yourself. So it gives this opportunity for us to be in the presence of these masters, these recordings. They're so precious because we can be in the presence of Chaplin, in the presence of Miles Davis all our life and meet them again and again on a new edge of ourselves. And I think that's that's an amazing gift of that recording has given us, and film and.
Yeah, I think maybe one part of it is like to have to develop a certain desire. You said you talked about precision, Gonzalo. So maybe you can also say, watching these films over and over again produces in you a kind of a desire for your own work, for your own precise work, to reproduce something of your own, but which has a similar quality, which has something, which has which is not the same, but which is worth of of standing in the tradition of this. So let's say, no. So it's a kind of a different kind of connection that you build with these masters, let's say, with the examples that they left us.
And every time again, new. Because now you are fascinated with this, but then maybe in 5 years you will be fascinated with another aspect of the work.
Yeah. And then I think it's also a process of assimilation. So you get used to a certain, it's not, again, not in aesthetics. I mean, there are people maybe that then afterwards copy or try to copy and of course fail. But you can also, watching over and over and then of course trying out, you can assimilate maybe some kind of, let's not call them principles, but somewhat as principles, which maybe connect jazz and comedy, which has which connect dramaturgy and rhythm, and you have certain things that you maybe not tastes and not recipes, but somehow an intuition. Maybe you develop an intuition for in your craft for dealing with dramaturgy and dealing with gags, but certainly not in that way that you see these films of Buster Keaton and then you say, aha, every gag has to be written like this, no? Because then I think it would not work. But somehow you learn, no? Also, you learn something, but it's not a technique that you can say now the gag has to be 50 seconds long and certain kind of expectation should be there, and then it should be broken, or you can make it 3 times and the 3rd time it's broken, the expectation or whatever. But it's so if you apply this,
these forms are,
yeah.
I think they're also interesting. Actually, there
what?
are also things you learn. These forms, like in jazz, for instance, the form of the tag, like the ending you play 3 times, and then, but they have a different kind of they are like the culture, the rules of the game that is developing, and they're not God-given, but they are like, okay, we agree, this works. And then you can stand, if you don't know those rules.
Yeah, you cannot refer to them. You cannot,
you cannot play, no?
Yeah, you cannot play. We could maybe also call them cliches, but cliche not in a bad sense. Cliche in a sense of something that just works. And you have to deal with it somehow. So you have to know it and develop your intuition in contact with that, no? And deal with this. So this classical question, you raise up you construct a situation and you repeat, no? The question of repetition in comedy. So let's say a clown tries to juggle and he fails first time, he fails the second time, and the 3rd time something must happen, no? Something different must happen, some surprise. So this is maybe one cliche which you can use and it will work, but then you can go further with it.
Yeah, especially because in comedy you can't really copy, or you can't follow any rule because they are not rules. It's a lot about feeling, and if you take notes on the Chaplin's or Keaton works and try to do it in the right way, you will get lost. You will be lost very, very fast, because the thing is that you really have to find your own thing. You really have to have fun, to enjoy on your own way of doing this comedy. you can't really copy, you know, as you said, like to be focused on the aesthetics, on or how Chaplin works, or Keaton face, or these kind of things. Of course, you can try to do it, but it will not be yours. So it will not be interesting for you, and you will have nothing to share at some point. So it's very interesting to see that you can be inspired by the things, but maybe it's not about, when I talk about precision, it's not about there's something very specific, but it's a lot about also the feeling of the universe that they create. You know, the whole picture, not only the small details. So it's how we can be inspired by this, but at the end you have to be your own master. You have to learn by yourself. You can be inspired by a lot of people. You can be inspired by a lot of artists. You can also have had good teachers or master or whatever, but at the end, when you will be in front of the audience, they will not laugh if you explain things. You have to be there, and you have to find this fragility, not this humanity of what you do, and not just being the copy of the copy, because it's not interesting in comedy. I think same for jazz. It's like
so totally true.
You need to find your own groove, you know, your own flow, your own thing. You have to surf the wave at every 3 seconds. You know, you can't be focused on somebody else's work and try to do it as good as possible, because it's not interesting. And of course, it's interesting to know the rules, but not respect them.
Yeah.
This is the main thing for me. More you know how it works, more you can really break the rules and enjoy breaking these rules and trying to find something that you like.
Maybe there's also the image of I don't know. You tell me, Gonzalo, if this speaks to you. You know that there's forces like gravity, and you just have to deal with gravity, but you don't have to be a slave to gravity. Like it's not the thing that but you have to take it into account. No, you can't ignore it. In the same way that you don't have to be a slave to those rules that you understand, and you understand their like workings and everything, but then you have to dance with them. You have to dance with gravity too. Anyways, it's maybe not such a good example, but it just made me think of, you know, these things that you understand are there, and you work with them, but you're not like fixated on them.
I find it
very
interesting.
Right.
We should go into a little bit more deeper into the anatomy of the joke, let's say, of the funniness. Because if you say gravity, I think that okay, what is funny? What is the phenomenon of being funny and of comedy? Is of course a very, very, very direct communication. It has to do with some sort of communication with a spectator. That also can be you yourself. No, you can also be your. Also
with gravity, actually. With
I'm
falling.
I'm coming to.
Sorry.
So it's somehow it's of course it's communication, direct communication, and you can say maybe it is a form of communication. You as the performer, you create. It can also be in music. You create a certain kind of, let's say, time. It has a beginning and an end, and inside of this time are these points of gravity. No, we could call it the gag or the punchline, maybe. Yeah, the punchline where of course the urge to laugh. Where the laughter breaks out, no? So this is the point of gravity, where it just releases, where it booms, where it bounces, no? And then it goes up again, and it goes up again, and this is a kind of an attention which goes up, and an expectation which builds up, and then it gets released with the punchline. Yeah, can we can see this as a kind of the solar system of the comic,
physics,
the physics
of comedy.
Yeah, the physics of the comic performance. So
we are looking for the singularity.
yeah, again, and of course there is the question of rhythm is coming very, very, very strongly, because I remember last time that we met in our internal workshop, in an internal work meeting, we were speaking about rhythm and speaking about rhythm as gravity. So as different points where it falls back again, and then it's or maybe rhythm as a swing, as a swing in circles.
No, as a point, I remember it was like the beat is a center of gravity.
The beat as a center of gravity, which can be you can fall into it. You naturally you fall into it. Yeah, you fall into it naturally. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. You fall naturally into it. But then, of course, the art begins when you work around it and when you create the tension. And the tension comes from resisting this center of gravity. No, from resisting the beat. There, the tension is created, and this tension creates the attention of the spectator. And in the comedy, this beat, the center of gravity, is somehow this release, this laughter release, through the punchline. So yeah, how to deal with all this? Gonzalo, can you do something with that?
Yeah,
or does it not?
Because you have said a few things actually, no, not only one thing. When you were on what you said about comedy, for something very interesting that you just said is that the problem in comedy can redefine, the solutions, so let's say, can redefine the problem. No, it's something that you just said. Like sometimes you have, like you can see a clown who presents a very simple and easy problem with a very easy solution that everybody will know the solution, but somehow he will not understand. No? And then he will come out with another solution. And now it's something very interesting that happened with the video also that you sent me. I will maybe check it later. But it's with an unexpected solution to a problem. So
what?
It's like
unexpected solution to a problem.
Yeah, yeah. So the problem, you will recognize a problem. Very simple: how to sit on a chair, how to know anything, or how to open something. I don't know. But then the audience will recognize this problem as something very simple and easy to solve. But somehow, now this character or this clown will not understand, but he will come out with this unexpected solution. So this unexpected solution maybe is worse than the problem, but will redefine the problem and will also define in a different way the relationship with the audience.
Yeah, and this, problem is also a very good description, because one of the biggest problems for us as performers is, of course, to play with the expectation of the spectator and to surprise, because it's so easy. It's so easy to predict. You can check it yourself. In any bad series of television, you can predict what's going to happen next. And in bad acting and in bad performances, you can predict what happens next. It comes down, maybe it comes also down to every single action. No, if you start an action like I'm grabbing the glass, it's full of water or of wine, better wine, and I'm going to take it up, and of course the next thing what you expect as an audience is that I'm going to drink it. Yeah, so this is how we work, how our brain works. Our brain always thinks or ahead of what is going on, already tries to construct what is going to happen next. And this comes down to every single action. So if you start in one direction, you can, of course, end in the different direction, and the line is one line that can, if you start to hold, to take up the glass from the table, and then you lift it to your mouth and you drink it. That's a very normal gesture. Everybody knows it. So how to deal with this initial problem? You take up the glass, but then you stop 1 centimeter from your mouth because you hear something. Something is going on. So there the story starts, no? So I think it's all about this work with the expectation, to have an initial problem or an initial proposition, one could also say, and then work with it, and then create expectation, and then break expectation. And this can be funny, or of course it can be also horror. No?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
That,
this is
you know,
sorry, yeah.
you go.
Because you just said something very interesting, because it can be funny or it can be horror, or it can be also very dramatic and not funny at all, But the point here, and what it makes this situation funny, and the essence of this is that you have to recognize how to say, the mechanic construction behind, no? That you somehow it has to imitate life, but you have to feel that it has been created, but it's mechanic, no? Which is not to. Do you understand?
You mean you have to recognize, you have to understand it in a certain point?
But that
Artificiality.
It's not really artificial, but when you say mechanic, when you say that it's not life on itself, but it creates the illusion of life,
Mm-hmm.
It's because then there is something that in comedy is interesting, that you have to be somehow detached to the emotions to laugh on things, because if you really think that this thing is serious, you will not laugh.
Yeah, then it's painful, usually.
It's painful, and nobody likes to see people falling or I don't know, having accidents or living these kind of situations. But then if you recognize the mechanic construction behind something that really
I understand.
It's like without life somehow. It's not like, it's not an imitation of life. But
it's not realistic. It's not realistic. Like, for instance, if you have a scene, somebody punches another, and the other one falls, and then the first one looks one moment into the audience and maybe does something with his shoulders, no? This gesture looks into the audience and makes a funny face or whatever, no? This is something which is not realistic, no? This is something...
But then again, if you recognize the mechanics, you say the mechanical part of it, like the illusion of life, that you have created something mechanical. It's and then it's funny.
Maybe this is a good point to look at this Larry Griswold, who does something that if it would be real, then it would be incredibly painful. What he does, with the falling, when he falls from the stairs, for instance.
Yeah, that's a very good example. Of course, I didn't bring it because it does not make sense to listen to it. You just need to watch it. We are talking now about a scene by Larry Griswold, which maybe can illustrate what we were talking about before. Because he does very dangerous things, and everybody is laughing so much, and he's falling off of this construction and everything, and one should really look at that, and we will put it in the link in the show notes. This is the difficult thing about the podcast, because we cannot see things. We will listen to some things, but it's only let's say
that's true. It's a bit tricky.
Audio comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It also brings to mind this strange thing that when one person goes on the stage and wants to speak and kind of loses it, it's funny, and when another person goes on the stage and tries to speak and then loses it's incredibly painful and
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
why does it turn out funny with the one and like incredibly horrifying with the other? And there's something, I think, with this, you know, real pain or real when you see someone really getting destroyed, it's not funny anymore. But when you can kind of feel that this person is, yeah, they're losing it, but it's not it's real, but it's not like destructive.
Yeah, it has to do also a lot with the way you accept failure. You know,
Mhm.
if you keep trying hard, it becomes very psychological and emotional, and it's not funny anymore. Yeah?
Yeah.
And there, I have to jump in, because what is the difference between it gets psychological and it's funny?
Yeah. Well, you know, when you play, you don't think. The clown he does. No, how do you say
He does.
Mhm.
he does, and he thinks later, huh? After.
Yeah, I know. But what is the difference between?
The difference is that it's that uh you know oh, I think that this has to do a lot of with the how you are engaged on the situation and on the action. In my case, now, which I see this the comedy and clowning as a very physical what to say thing. It's that you have to be there. You have to be in real contact with the audience, and you have to be also in a real contact with yourself. You have to really know and be aware of where you are living, no, and why you are there. So this is also important to know that you go to the stage to do something, to work. It's not just you don't go to expose yourself and your life and your thoughts and your dreams. Somehow, yes, but no, it's something also very practical for me. So you go straight to the point, and then you will not miss it. You will fight and work hard to achieve what you want to do. You know, I don't know if
Yes,
you can follow or not. This
it has to do.
sometimes,
Yeah. No.
no, yeah, yeah.
Go.
No, because sometimes it's very difficult to see somebody who get very excited by the fact that there are 500 or 1,000 people looking at you, so you completely forget why you're there. No?
Mhm.
So you have to focus, stay focused on your thing, no?
Mm.
And to create this relationship with the audience will fit your work also, no? So it will help you to go on, and not the other way around. And if your objective is not clear, then you risk very much to fall and to get lost, and you will start like to judge yourself or to judge the audience, and because you don't really know where you want to take them or where you are going. So to place a very an objective when you go to on the stage is very important. Then you have the big objectives, and then you can place a very little ones. But you know, it's like you will build up the situation. You have to know what you are creating on that moment, and it's very important.
Can you give an example, Gonzalo, from your own work, like what an objective could look like?
Okay, so there, you know, for example, this my play, Chiringuito Paradise. Now we have it's a late, almost 50 minutes performance, and the it's the opening of this bar, and it's full of accidents. Okay, so that we know that we want to open that bar. It's very simple. No, it's an opening, so it has to be open. Okay, but it takes 50 minutes to do it. Yeah? And it's so full of accidents that at the beginning we had some real accidents, and it's amazing that people, they don't see the difference, but it's amazing the way you feel it from inside. No? So it was like, and we were like sometimes also lost, because we were like, oh, what we should do now, and we will start talking to each other and so on. And no, it takes like like a few seconds, to take you out of your objective and to not being able to take it back. So if you have a good dramaturgy, a good structure behind, and a clear objective, it's much more easy to come back. Because when you
Find a
write for
way,
comedy, it's not like you don't write every second. You need to leave a lot of space on your
Right.
structure, a lot, because on the street anything can happen. So on that space, how to fill that space is very important. What to do when there is nothing written, it's the key. And there, then you need to play a lot, and you need to gain experience to know how to manage that moment. And there is where you can get lost very easy, because you can have a very good dramaturgy behind, but if you don't leave space, it will be flat, because it will
Right.
be with no life, with no flow. No, you are not taking any risk. And comedy is about to taking risk every time, all the time. But you have to make this risk part of your own dramaturgy. So it has to be a very concrete structure. And I think it's in this moment where we very often comedians, they don't think much about, and then just go to prove themselves that they can do anything without a structure, which is very interesting also to see people improvising. But you really need a good technique to do it, and a lot of experience.
Wow, that's so interesting, Gonzalo. This relationship between your own objective and the structure, and then the freedom you need to, or that actually with those two you can use the freedom that you need to make it alive. This is again such a strong link with jazz, where also a jazz musician can get lost very easily if you don't have your strong objective. Like if you don't know, in essence, you don't have to know the details, but you have to know your objective. And that makes it possible for you to actually navigate the freedom and navigate the situations that arise and make something very alive in that space.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And the objectives, I can imagine, can be different for every performer, no? In one...
Yeah. In comedy, it's important and very interesting that these objectives are very clear, very easy to recognize by
an audience should
for the
recognize.
audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you
it's
can
like
yeah,
like a jazz tune, which is very simple.
What do you mean
Basically.
in this sense with objectives? You mean, for instance, you want to open a bar?
Yeah.
That's this.
Or get girl,
but then
or
then it has to do a lot also with dramaturgy, because now, like, I will open a bar, but something will go wrong in the case of our play, But what it is the thing that will be like the beginning, like the trigger for the mess? Now it's something very, very difficult sometimes to find. And for us, it was like in the case of the Chiringuito Paradise, it was like we had to give a cocktail, our first cocktail. But then we start thinking, okay, but we should take somebody from the audience. Okay, it's good. But then these people from the audience, what is if it's the mayor of the city, represents the authority? So it makes the problem a bit bigger. So it creates a context. So then you start to try to find out how something very simple, how you can make it how to say, like more that's something that creates more tension, because
more tension, more tension, more potential for accidents and for comedy. You know what we say in tragedy in German? There is something that we call Fallhöhe, which means height of falling. No, You know that in the tragedy,
Uh-huh.
in some Germans, of course, the Germans, they when they found these old Greek texts, they started to say, "Oh yeah, that's great, the best thing to do." And they said, "Yes, this is the classical plays." And then they started to write rules. And one of the rules of the tragedy was, of course, that it has to be a noble hero. No, why? Why is it a noble hero? Because of the height of falling. Yeah, because when a poor farmer kills his wife and is even poorer and has nothing to eat and whatever, and the gods are not in favor of him, that's not a tragedy, because of course there is no height of falling. The poor farmer was poor before and is poor after, poor bastard. No height of falling. But if it's a noble person, so it's very high, he has a very good life, and if he loses everything, that is the story. Yeah. So this could be, it's also the same what you said now. The situation, the starting situation is very simple. You want to open a bar, and then parameter 1, you want to give the first cocktail. Very simple. But now starts to build up the tension. Who is the receiver of the cocktail? A very, very important person. So nothing should go wrong, and this creates the tension for the comic relief afterwards, for that everything falls to pieces.
And this is very important. And something interesting here is that you are creating the bluff. What is bluffing when you are like in poker? What is
bluff? Yeah.
The bluff. You are creating this in front of everybody's eyes. You invite the mayor, because we invite the mayor, and I make a speech, and I make him make some speech and everything, so everybody knows that person is not the mayor. No? But little by little you start doubting if it's really the mayor or not, and that has happened to us twice, that we have picked the real mayor of the city
by accident.
Yeah.
No,
oh my God.
I don't believe
one
you.
was by accident, and the other one because he wanted to be there. No? One was by accident, and then I realized that I said, okay, it's not humiliating at all for the fake mayor, because we are not making fun of him. We are just putting him in this very surreal situation, because he was very happy to be there. He enjoyed a lot, and we could do just that we do with all the mayors, but he was the real one. I was not, because once I knew, and the second time I didn't know that he was the real mayor. And he say, but I know he was the mayor of another town very close to the town we were performing. Okay. And he said, yes, but I'm the mayor of the
other town.
Yeah, on the other town, and I told him okay, but today you will be the mayor also of this town, because I thought that he was joking, and he said, okay, why not? No, and we start playing with this, but at the end of the show, the programmer, the person who organized the festival, told me, do you know that you took the real mayor of the other town? I was like, no. So
you thought it was only everything a joke?
Yeah, I thought he was joking. Yeah,
that's great. That's it's. I believe you, of course, because it happens. One of my teachers of theater said also, if a performance is good and it works good, then it can happen that you talk of a airplane flying or of something, and then suddenly you hear from outside of the theater, you hear in exact that moment, you hear the airplane coming.
Yeah.
If the performance is good, then there is these accidents, this magic that happens, these coincidences.
Yeah, and this is to say that at that moment I realized that what we were creating with this mayor on the stage was real. It was not a parody. It was not a caricature, how to say, of a mayor. He was really acting like a real mayor, and this was the funny thing. The fake one, like to invite somebody, and convinced that he is the mayor, and we were so proud. Now that, oh, okay, we have the mayor today with us, and we are really touched. We are honored by his presence, and we start talking like if it was a real mayor. And somehow we create the illusion, and people start. We all believe that he's the real mayor. And of course, when then everything was we break everything. No? So it goes very bad. But it's
I find it very interesting, this fact that it's important to have a setup which is how do you say it in intelligent terms? Which is intelligible. So it's able for the public, for the audience. The audience has to be able to read it, no? To read it very fast, to believe it also, in the sense that there is a chair, empty chair, and there is a person coming in. So the situation, empty chair and person is coming in. He is going to sit on that chair or to do something with the chair, no? Where does it go to? And then this is the chair of, or it's a throne, it's a throne of a kingdom, and so there is a crown, and so there all these kinds of small details that help you create the situation and the expectation, and the better your communication with the audience in this way, the better you can also break it and you can play with it, no?
Yeah, and it's important that it has to stay credible, because if the people, if the audience know that it's not real, because there is a bit too much of something, they will not believe in the same way. You will not be able to create the tension, you know? If you put the crown, then you put if you make the whole setup for the king, but somehow there is something that has nothing to do, and there's another thing that has nothing to do, and then you start saying, okay, he's not really a king, you know? There is, I don't know the word in English, but to détourner, we say it in French, a situation, to make it surreal, to create the absurdity around. It's sometimes not that easy, and you really have to go, little by little, trying to find out until what is the limit. Also, it's very interesting to know the possibilities, but also it's very interesting to know the limits.
Yeah.
Where do we go too far?
Yeah, too far from this, we can also say, gravity, no? Which holds everything together which holds the...
Yeah.
And in comedy, when it's too far, it's too much, and when it's too much, it's not interesting.
Yeah.
You lose it. Actually, this gravity and what you said, Gonzalo, about how the absurd solution that the clown comes up with changes the problem. So it basically changes these points of gravity. I think that is really beautifully, you can hear it in the rhythm of Faulty Towers, this clip that was proposed by you, Simon, I think?
No, by Gonzalo.
Oh, by Gonzalo. Because maybe we can listen to that, because you can really hear how in the rhythm of his speech he changes through, when you have these beats and then the subdivisions in between and how you use them, they determine kind of what kind of character the rhythm has and what possibilities it has. If it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and a turn down, or it's completely different, right? The vibe.
Yeah.
But it's because of the subdivisions. The beat stays the same. But if I go so absurd, I changed the beat. Did you hear that happening? So I actually shifted the points of gravity, and he does it all the time, and you're all the time moved.
Yeah, you're moved
in an absurd direction, rhythmically speaking.
Yeah, absurd. It changes a little bit, and your attention goes what
exactly. What? And the drummer actually, when he's playing with John Cleese, he's exposing that
we will listen
the
to this
dimension
now.
of rhythm.
Oh, but what you just said is very interesting, and somehow it also reminds how important in comedy is the objective, to have this bit.
Yeah, exactly. This is so good.
If you don't have a clear objective, you will get lost.
Yeah, there's nothing to play with, and this is, in jazz sometimes, because it got freer and freer, and it gets more and more like difficult, but also more and more important that you know your own objective, even if you could not describe it anymore in, I want to open a bar, or this is the beat. When you get the free music of Coltrane or Nat Coleman, it's not that obvious anymore, but it's there.
Yeah,
it's
very much a great joke.
But something very important, also interesting, that there's a very
the second half we will talk about the clips and the rhythm and listen to a lot of funny things.
Define the problem, but you also define the relationship with the audience, which is the main thing for a comedian, for a clown.
Exactly. You're in a completely different world all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's not only that you have to define to give a new meaning to something or to a problem, but you have to define this relation.
Musical jokes is incredibly interesting for us.
What is so interesting? Maybe I should not forget it for the second half, but rhythm in itself is rarely funny.
Yes,
even though it's such an essential element for comedy. I'll look it up.
This is interesting because it's like, look at the mechanics of comedy, I think, because it's without content, and it's very important sometimes to look beyond the content. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I'm also extremely hungry, so I will say you goodbye now.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you soon.
See you soon. Very soon.
There are great Jesus jokes,
True. Well, there's an objective. Speaking of objectives, he had a pretty strong one, save the world and everyone in it for all of time.
Yes. You want? I will play you this joke. I have a recording from Žižek, from Slavoj Žižek. He's a philosopher and he likes to tell jokes. He has a very strange English and he talks like this sometimes. Yeah. So it's sometimes a little bit difficult to listen, but
it already sounds funny.
Yeah, but listen to this. Listen to this.
The best respectful religious joke that I heard, maybe you know it from some of my earlier books, was among the Christians of Palestine.
So he tells his favorite best joke.
This is Monty Python.
He tells his favorite religious joke, yeah? And he heard this joke in among the Palestinian Christians, he says.
Mm-hmm.
Very tender jokes that I like about Jesus Christ, like just one non-obscene one. I love it. I heard this from a Christian Palestinian. I like this total historical inaccuracy. Jesus Christ gets tired of his preaching, and he takes one of the apostles. Let's go to Galilee Sea and close to it, let's play golf. Okay, Christ is playing golf there. He makes a hit, misses it, the ball falls into the sea, lake, water. Okay, Christ being Christ, he of course walks there on the water, comes back. And then the apostle says, but listen, Jesus, this is a very difficult hit. You will probably fail. Even, who is your big player, the black guy?
Tiger Woods.
Even Tiger Woods wouldn't maybe be able to do it. And Jesus said, fuck Tiger, I'm God, I can do it. So he hits it again, it goes again into the water. So he walks on the water again, and that I like this total historical confusion. At that point, a group of American tourists come there with a bus, and are surprised, like, what is that guy doing walking on water, no? And they approach the apostle and says, But who's that jerk guy? What does he think that he is? Jesus Christ. You know what Apostle answers? No, it's much worse. He thinks he's Tiger Woods.
That's so cute.
That's a great joke. Okay.
Yeah, that's very funny.
So, the second half, we will talk about the clips and the rhythm and listen to a lot of funny things.
Ooh.
Yeah? So,
Yeah.
I will also look up this because I have a CD of a from the 50s. This duo, a woman singer and a pianist, and their whole career was making musical jokes.
Musical jokes
And,
is
yeah,
incredibly interesting for